Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be going over the new balance patch notes from 3.16, which is also going to be in the Scourge League. So just as a heads up, the gameplay you guys are seeing is in Expedition, as the newest league is not out yet, but they just dropped a big patch note over here that is going to be going over basically the Flask and Ailment mitigation, as well as some buffs on the Pantheon, which is going to be overall really nice for a lot of you newer players because it makes it a lot easier to go ahead and complete the game and get to the end game maps and not have to deal with being frozen, which is basically the ailment that a lot of people want to get rid of. Just as a heads up, if this is your first time here, the gameplay that you guys are seeing just down below me is going to be an Eye of Winter build. If you guys do want to go ahead and actually play that build, it's already fully complete. We've done Awakener 9, we've done Cyrus and all the Guardian Shaper, and it's a really fun build. Anyways, this is going to be for 3.16, so keep in mind the gameplay is not 3.16 because, well, it's not out for a couple weeks. But let's go over the balance part 1. So they're going to be doing these in 3 different parts. They haven't released part 2 and 3 yet at the moment of me making this video, but this is going to be part 1. So I'm just, as a heads up, going to be going over what I consider to be the most important information. I'll also give you guys my thoughts on it because some of you guys might be wondering what my thoughts are on this. So first off, I won't be reading every single thing. I'll have it linked down below in a pinned comment, but I just want to go over the things that actually matter for majority of players, I want to say. So first off, Purity of Elements is getting a massive buff. So the aura makes it so you are now immune to elemental ailments and you gain extra elemental resistances. So instead of it being 12 to 27, it is now 20 to 34, and it just gives you full immunity to all ailments. That's actually pretty insane, but it has a reservation of 50% and it used to be 35. So there is a massive buff with it, but it's going to be using more of your mana. Are most people going to be running it unless they're running like an aura bot, or even if that even makes it through this next league? I think that the reservation is going to be huge, and a lot of people will probably look at alternate options because they give us a lot more, but at the end of the day, it is something that a lot of people just didn't really just run unless they had like someone else running the aura, as it just, you know, it wasn't really worth it for most players. Damage is usually the better option at the end of the day, but that's a huge nice change for that aura. Now there's actually a really nice change for a lot of people, which has to do with Steel Skin. So the buff now grants the ability to be immune to bleeding during effect, which we're actually using in the gameplay over here, so that's awesome. That will be great. It'd be really nice if it also helped out with maybe Corrupted Blood, because I saw that a lot at the time where people would complain about getting hit with Corrupted Blood. You can get a corruption on a jewel that just makes you immune to Corrupted Blood, so most people eventually do get that on some sort of a jewel. So for me, I understand from a new player's perspective, if you get hit with Corrupted Blood, you melt really fast, but being able to be immune to it with Steel Skin, especially if you map it to your left mouse button, which makes it so you're pretty much going to have it active almost at all times, that it is when it's available, that is, not during its cooldown. It's really nice. So basically, bleed immunity is going to be really easy to get for a lot of different players. And then as far as ailments goes, like some of you guys might be thinking, oh, do I really want to reserve 50? Don't worry, there's something that's way better in here. So it has to do with the Soul of the Bright King. So when you upgrade it, it says instead of being you cannot be frozen if you've frozen recently, you just cannot be frozen. So that makes it so Occultist is going to be not as desirable as an Ascendancy, because a lot of people just liked that cannot be frozen, which was really nice. So for me, I might actually roll Elementalist again going into the next league, depending on how they are going to be changing Elemental Equilibrium, because they mentioned some of that. But for the most part, it's because Brittle is absolutely amazingly strong. But pretty much this is going to be your go-to, I would say, for the Pantheon. Almost everyone's going to be wanting this because it just cannot be frozen. Because the crafting modifier on boots, it's like 1x. So a lot of people never were able to really craft it, especially from a new player's perspective. Just one, get into crafting. Two, actually want to use the currency to have that on a pair of boots. It's just really expensive. So I would say that is a really nice change overall on the Pantheon. Two other ones that I thought were really good is Yugioh. Instead of it granting 50% chance to reflect the enemy's chills and freezes, it now grants 50% chance to reflect hexes, and you and your minions take 50% reduced reflected damage. It used to be 25, and the upgraded Soul of Yugioh now grants 30% reduced effect of curses on you. So it's another 10% reduction. You can actually get another 40% on the tree. So if you get 40 plus this, you can almost kind of just do some of the maps. Plus they are actually buffing one of the rings, Kikuzaru, which we'll get into in a moment here. But basically it's going to be a lot easier to deal with curses. I usually end up running Yugioh, but the Brian King is definitely going to be something I will be running as well. And now I don't have to spend a lot of money on crafting boots, which is awesome. Also, with the Soul of Gorokan, no longer grants 5% chance to evade attack hits if you've taken a savage hit recently, and instead now grants 60% reduced effect of shock on you. A lot of times, things that kill you are lightning damage and physical damage in the game, and with like lightning damage, or especially when you're shocked, there's a huge range on it, and sometimes you just get unlucky or a powerful crits, you know, when you're shocked, you're just going to take that massive amount of damage. So that's a nice change overall as well, I would say. There's a lot more notes. Keep in mind, I'm not reading every single thing. I'm just going over the things that I think most people want to hear. So on top of that, they're adding a lot more crafting bench modifiers. You guys can just see up on the screen. So you have reduction of the duration of ignite or effect of the chill, shock, curses, freeze. Like, there's a lot of different modifiers. So again, that's just nicer for some people that do want to mess around with some crafting to go ahead and get rid of some of the ailments. Usually I just get a corruption on a ring. If I can get immune to ignite, that's awesome. And then with my boots, I usually got immunity to freeze. As far as shock goes, well, I just took the damage, to be honest. But now with the newer changes, I will probably look into just the 60% reduced effective shock, because that's actually pretty big. And also on the top left side of the tree, I think you get some extra percentages of reduced effect of the shock. And if you can get that up to 100%, then you're basically immune to everything. But if you think about it, Raider and Elementalists, they were already immune before in 3.14, and in 3.15, they're just like, well, Elementalists, well, sorry, you're not going to be completely immune, and then Raider got cut in half for the ailment. But you can still get 100% relatively easy, you just have to invest more points as Raider. But overall, it's still a nerf from the original, like 3.14, but it's a step in the right direction, right? And overall, my thoughts on these are going to be relatively positive. They are all straight up buffs in most aspects. I'll get into slight nerfs, but it's really not that big of a deal. So the Kikuzaru ring, I already mentioned that it is getting changed. So it's 60% reduced effective curses on you, and if you have the 30% plus just one Kikuzaru ring and the Pantheon, that's 90%. So like, for those of you guys that do have like alternate gear that you do certain maps, like for example, like for me, I will do the maps with curses on me. I'll just have to throw on a different ring to do the maps when I'm just going to slam them all out at once, or you could sell your maps or whatever. But this is overall a quite nice change, just for any of you guys that are even playing the self-cursed totem build that was for Forbidden Rite with the like soul mantle armor. That was a very popular build, Forbidden Rite, where you had it with the totems, and this is going to be a nice buff for that if that build actually survives, because more than likely it will probably be nerfed. But if it doesn't get nerfed, hey, that's going to be a great starter league for the next Scourge League. So that's a nice change. There's also the Ghastly Theater Shield now gives you the ability to be immune to bleed, which is awesome. It used to be like a chance to avoid it. And then the Conqueror's Longevity Jewel over here, it used to be 3% to avoid ailments, and now it's 10%. So again, it just helps you min-max if you guys are running the ability to be avoiding those ailments, which is more so in like the bottom right, versus the other top left, I think is more so the effectiveness of whatever ailment it is. So if you just need that last 10%, because it's, you know, something that people want to get, because you can get 90% pretty easy without investing another like 4 points into like the immunity. It can be good. So nice changes overall for some of the unique changes. They also mentioned some different flask changes for modifiers from life and mana flask. I really like the ability to be immune to like hinder, maim, anything that, or like the grasping vines. There's a lot of things I'm sure some of you guys notice with this most recent league that like I was just getting hit by so many things that would just slow me down, and I just didn't like it. I almost wanted to roll Juggernaut at one point, because I'm just like, there's just way too many things that you have to be immune to, maim, hinder, and then also like the grasping vines. There's so many different things. I wish that instead of them having so many different like mechanics to slow your character down, you would just have some sort of like immunity to being slowed, versus needing to get immunity to maim and immunity to hinder. Like, there's just too many, if that makes any sense. But overall, yes, nice changes, because I don't like getting hit by that. But I'll just get a corrupted jewel that gives us full immunity to it, versus like, oh, when I activate my flask or whatever. There are also massive flask buffs to several different flasks over here. So new modifier that it helps extend the flask uptime. So you can see we have increased charge recovery, but reduced effect over here. So these are going to extend the flask durations of the Quicksilver, Diamond, Granite, Jade, Quartz, and Silver Flask. So we get a pretty nice buff. So they now last 6 seconds. Previously used to be 4. But if you remember, the Granite Flask as well as the like Sulfur Flask, these got like absolutely destroyed. Or actually, a Basalt Flask got pretty much destroyed, because they also changed the way that the Consecrated Ground works. But as far as like the physical damage mitigation duration. I mean, it was cut in half, but now we're getting like 50% more of the duration. So it's like definitely still a nerf from 3.14, but from 3.15, this is technically going to be a buff. So there's a give and a take, right? And I'd say these are overall nice changes. And they increase the duration of gold and iron, bismuth, as well as the amethyst flask. But because of these buffs, they are also changing some of the unique flasks that basically are going to be affected by these changes. So they're basically nerfing them, but it's still going to be like kind of the same because they're buffing them one department. I don't know the math in terms of the numbers. I haven't plugged these in to POB, but for the most part, I would say they're probably going to be relatively the same, but just overall buffs to like the base one. So that's going to be, again, just a nicer change overall. Another nice thing, especially with leveling, so they added more tiers to flask modifiers on belts, and the more important ones, again, more so for like leveling up, are going to be the increased flash charges gain as well as the duration. Because if any of you guys play the campaign, a lot of times you just didn't have your flasks up. I was running like 3 or 4 Quicksilver flash just so I can zoom through the campaign, just because, well, I want to get to maps as fast as possible. So this is going to be what I would consider overall nice change as well. And then on top of that, they are basically saying they're going to be concluding it, but I just want to go over my thoughts on it. They also mentioned, actually, one thing I didn't like go over. I don't remember exactly what it was. Again, if you want to read everything, there are going to be a lot of changes that I didn't go over, but I just want to go over the most important things because they're just examples of different like modifiers on some like the changes on immunity to whatever, but there's less duration, whatever the case may be. But they are also modifying the life flask, and I didn't actually like ping that one, but basically life flasks are going to be healing for the same amount, but like faster amounts, because everyone was using the like instant recovery. Let me see if I can control F this. Oh, here we go. Let me see if I can find the instant. Basically, they're modifying instant recoveries are the most reliable. Yes. So basically, they said to make it more balanced, they're going to make it so the total recovery is the same, but it's half the amount of time. So instead of it being like, everyone running instant, they want more people to run other things. Are people going to do that? Probably not. I think everyone's going to run instant, but here's my solution for that. What you do is you get a Forbidden Taste, as long as you have the Chaos Res for this, and you just have the enchantment used when you take a Savage hit. And then that way, when you take that massive damage, it automatically does it, and you don't even have to push a button. So I like the auto flasks, and overall, these changes are all positive. I give them double thumbs up on this for like the changes overall. I can't wait to see what else they do, but this is going to be great for newer players, especially for freeze immunity. This is so good, because when I was like, okay guys, it's time to craft some boots. Now you can spend 1 exalt, or you can to craft it on an already good pair of boots, or you can try to go buy some of them. And when you tell newer players to go buy items, sometimes they're like, well, I don't know what's good, and it just kind of makes it a little bit more difficult. Even though I explain things, keep in mind there's newer players all the time that hop in the game, and when a crafting cost is 1x, like for 1x, a newer player can probably get way better pieces of gear in their different gear slots, because there's just suboptimal pieces of gear for their build. But anyways, that's going to be pretty much wrapping up what I wanted to go over in these notes. Again, it'll be pinned down below in case you guys want to read everything. But I would say these changes overall are awesome in every single department. I wish, one thing I do want to mention real quick, they did mention that some of these uniques are going to be updated. Can you update a bunch of the uniques that like no one uses? And I'm not talking about like lower leveling ones, like let's say Wanderlust or like Tabula, or things that like people start off with that they don't use during the endgame. I'm not saying every unique needs to be used during endgame. There could be leveling uniques like Wanderlust, Screaming Eagle. These are great. Axiom. These are all great uniques. But can we have it so like at least most of the uniques have some sort of weird, ability to them? Because I think that over the course of time, especially when a new player hops in, they get like a legendary drop. They're like, oh my gosh, because a lot of people come from like Diablo. They get super excited, right? The beam of light, if they happen to have the filter on, it's exciting. But then you idea and you're like, what the heck? It's just a stat stick, and none of these stats are even that high. It's just the game has evolved over time. So I think it'd be really nice to have a lot more unique changes to some of the unique items in the game. But anyways, that's my thoughts. You guys can let me know yours down below in case, again, you guys wanted to see like the build. That is Eye of Winter. I have a full walkthrough guide just in case any of you guys are new and you're looking to play something during Scourge League. As long as that build doesn't get nerfed, which I don't really see like that build absolutely getting destroyed. Eye of Winter, that is. for the next league mechanic. But I'm super excited to see what the other patch notes are, and if this is your first time here and you do want to see the part 2, because again, it's not out right now, I will be dropping a video going over my thoughts on it. But those are the most important things from 3.16. Basically, freeze immunity is super easy to get, as well as now you get free bleed immunity for during the duration of steel skin. So that's awesome for me. The rest of the stuff, well, I'm still going to be running my instant activation on the Forbidden Days. But anyways, take care, guys. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like on it. If you're new and you want to see the part 2 when that drops, I will be dropping the video as well for that one. But take care, guys, and I'll catch you in the next video, and I'm out. Peace.